Greetings, CCISD. I'm Cary Perales.
And I'm Kim James.
And we're getting to the core. It's really exciting that we're kicking off this whole podcast series with the math framework. So I thought I would start with, okay, when you think of math, like think back to your childhood. What kinds of things come to mind when you think of math? I know some for me.
I would probably say, Cary, I am the typical anti-math student. I was told that I would not, learn math. It was difficult. I remember second grade struggling with memorizing flashcards, literally sitting on the front row. I can remember my teacher holding up the flashcard and laying it down and me trying to lean up to see what the answer was because I could not memorize. Later, moving into, upper level math classes, I was not that girl. I mean, I took the advanced pathways, but I did not, and I did not master, and I struggled a lot. And I really think that I struggled because I needed to know why. And what I was told is, here's the problem, write down the steps that you do it.
Procedural.
Very procedural. And that's how you solve every single math problem.
Yes, and only one right way. I remember, this is the way you're supposed to do it. I'm like, yeah, but I like to draw my pictures over here because I'm a very visual person.
Absolutely.
I had a similar journey. I actually liked math in elementary because we got to play with manipulatives and stuff, and I love the fake money. That was like so exciting to play with this. I remember waiting for the teacher to bring those out.
Right.
But then when I got into middle school, that's where it just dipped. It went back to that procedural, and we had to solve all these problems. And I remember being so frustrated because in class alongside the teacher, I could do the math. Yeah. But as soon as I was by myself, it was like they were all wrong. Right. And then I would do like 50 problems all wrong. So Absolutely. It was awful.
I remember that, yes. Doing all the problems, being able to do them with the teacher because I was memorizing the steps. And then when I had to go back and do it by myself, I had no idea what I was doing. Like what was the reason I was doing it.
You didn't understand the conceptual part of it.
Absolutely.
And I think that is what is so key because then later on down the road, I had to take a math prep. Like I wasn't good in math. So before I could take any upper level college math classes, I had to take this I guess it was a tutorial math. Right. But it changed my life because that math teacher explained the why. Right. And she brought out those beautiful math manipulatives that I love so much.
When you're in elementary school.
Yes.
But we're not using
in college. She did it was at JC Community College. Right. And she brought out those pennies and nickels and quarters that were fake. And I was like immediately drawn back to elementary school. But I learned so much. And then what's really crazy, when my first teaching job, guess what it was for?
Math.
For a math teacher position.
I've heard that so many times, yes.
But then I learned as a teacher, okay, I don't want to teach just the procedural. Right. I have to bring out the real world application of it, of the why we're learning it. Because I taught, it was 5th grade and 6th grade math is what the job was for. But I think when I was thinking about how we're going to launch this series, it really stems from that, about our experiences in math.
That's right.
And so we went through a whole journey last year with RSSP and building a math committee. Right. What do you think, basically, we're launching that now? What was the purpose and what did you get out of it as far as the math committee?
I feel like that we are looking at ways to equip our students with more than just procedural tools. There's always been a fight in math versus, the calculator versus memorization, rote memorization. And I think it's really giving us the opportunity to really dig deeper into how we teach math, how the teachers teach math, and how our students engage with math so that they can actually be critical thinkers in the future. And, there's been a lot of research, Cary, on and studies worldwide looking at where different countries fall across as far as critical thinking skills.
The global,
yes. And unfortunately, the United States has not really fared as well. In fact, they're in the bottom third, I believe, in as far as ranking. And then we look at the United States as well, and I know we're coming down out of a pandemic. We know that the students lost at least a half a year to 2 years in some places, with our low SES kids especially, students that don't have access to high-quality curriculum, the manipulatives, as you talked about, and even technology. We know that we're not faring well then there. but then even more Texas and Corpus Christi. We want to be a leader, and especially in Corpus Christi, Texas, we want to be a leader in the state of Texas and showing that our kids can do the critical thinking, because that's really what math is about. It's solving problems,
yes,
whatever those problems look like.
And I could tell when we had the math committee, and that was made up of teachers, board members, parents, community, business owners. One of the things is that's what they were asking for is, what is the end in mind? What are the real world applications that we want our students to be able to do? And I know we can do it because that group was so powerful when they talked about the importance of, well, we got to help the teacher too. We've got to make sure the teacher knows how to teach those concepts, because some of them, the procedural could be easy. It's the conceptual that sometimes is really hard, and it also takes time.
Yeah. How do you apply that concept? I mean, that really is it. And I don't, kind of remembering back in the day when we were talking about math, what did we skip most of the time? We skipped the word problems.
Yes.
And the word problems
that was extra credit.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, we only did what we call naked math, and we didn't do the word problems. Well, really, that's what we're doing now is thinking about how do we apply this math and where. So you start with that first.
Yes. And that balance, because if it goes too far one way to just procedural, then we lose the conceptual. So it's really finding that balance. And I think overall the math committee decided that's what we need. We need both, but we need a really nice balance.
And I think one of the other things I'd like to mention about the committee is, as you said, we had committee members from the community. We had an engineer, so they were giving perspectives in the world of work. We had elementary, middle, and high school. And that procedural versus conceptual is different in every grade band. Elementary looks different, middle school looks different, and then when we're in high school, it looks completely different. So I think that was something that they really looked at and thought about as they deliberately developed this framework.
And they even talked about it like telling a story.
Yes.
That math is a story, and that's the first time I've really heard of it that way.
Right.
I haven't really heard of it as a story. You think that more ELER, but they talked about like each grade level is like a chapter, and you have to go through it, and kids have to remember. You have to remember the beginning to know where the middle to understand the end.
Right.
And so I just loved how the committee worked together to create that. And so now basically what our goal is we want to do a communication plan, because we can put everything on paper, but we have lots of stakeholders. And so we want to make sure that everybody understands what we're doing, where we're heading, how we're going to make sure those kids can apply those real world mathematical applications. And so part of the podcast is to do that. So we're going to be doing these on a regular basis. I'm super excited because we're going to interview teachers and students about what their, the difference between procedural and conceptual and how they feel about it. And especially C&I specialists are working really hard to support teachers. So we'll hear from them as well. So I'm excited about kicking this off.
Me too, Cary. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. Awesome. All right. So I'm Cary.
And I'm Kim.
And we're getting to the core.